Damn, welcome back, Una Knight. And we finally got another healer unit. This time we got a fairy support. And I don't know, you guys would probably be thinking and comparing her to units such as Talia, right? Another fairy supporter unit. So you might be wondering, hey, is it worth it when Talia is already such a good fairy supporter unit? Do we really need another one? They do very, very different things. And just right off the bat, when it comes to raw healing, okay, we're talking about raw healing, right? Erika will heal more, right? But then when it comes to actual utility and everything else, naturally Talia would be better than Erika at that, just because of the fact she does have accuracy decrease, AoE, which could help arguably like help your team dodge some stuff, stuff like that, right? But again, when it comes to raw healing, Erika does have her uses, and there are some team comps where Erika could arguably do better in, right? And that's just how it is for every unit in the game, right? That's why every unit has its use, right? So after recording the video, basically if you have Talia and you're free to play, just skip Erika, bro. But if you actually want Erika, literally 80 pity is enough. So yeah. So we'll just get straight into it, because the most confusing thing about Erika's kit, I don't know if you could see it, but then that's a big wall of text, right? You see Talia's is very thin, very easy to understand. Erika is yeah. So basically she's kind of an RNG healer just because of her, I was about to say passive, basically her sub skill 3. Now we'll just call it her passive just for our, it's semantics, right? Just because it's easier that way. But basically this S3 or Eureka, to put it simply, it gives you 1 to 2 buffs. All right, so the first buff it gives you, all right, this is tied to the Eureka single exclamation, let's just call it Eureka 1, right? So there are 2 Eurekas, a Eureka 1 and Eureka 3, right? Let's just call it that. So Eureka 1 gives her attack 14% for 8 seconds. This goes all the way up to 20%. And a special Eureka buff which activates secondary effects on literally everything, right, in her kit. And then the Eureka 3 gives a tertiary effect to everything, and I'll be telling you which ones would most likely need Eureka 3 and which ones don't really need Eureka 3, like they only need Eureka 1, right? So the Eureka 3 is actually RNG based, so you're gonna be thinking, oh, what about Jade? Here's the thing, you don't need Jade, alright, just straight off the bat, because in her sub-skill rotation, Erika, I mean, we already know this, right? Because she's in stage 1725, we've already seen her gameplay, and it was painful to actually figure this out, by the way. So, yeah. Anyways, Erika uses it so many times in a rotation, like so frequently, that's not even an issue. Literally right off the... Okay, we'll talk about that in a bit, sorry. So 50%, right? So it doesn't really matter, because again, like we mentioned, not everything needs Eureka 3, because we do get a guaranteed 1 Eureka buff, a Eureka 1 buff, which most of these are already completely fine with, right? Now, anyways, just off of that, let's go straight into her main, which is a Magnum Opus, right? So again, this thing is already really good without Eureka 3, because when it comes to raw healing, you only need 1 Eureka stack, right? So it's not a full screen heal, so think about that, which is, kind of peak. But then this is actually very comparable to Geo's heal, right, when it comes to straight healing, because this does do 440%. But then the difference is this is at 1 Eureka stack, level 3, sorry, it's a bit confusing. This is 380% heal, and then Geo's is 440. The difference is Geo's is again 440, Erika's is 380, but it is 2.5 meters around that teammate with the lowest HP, which is again the same radius as Catherine's invincibility, right? So imagine just the radius of that is the unit who has the lowest HP. Again, both are emergency heals, both target the unit with the lowest HP, that's why we're comparing them together. Now, if your team is full HP and you have no triple Eureka buff, just hold on to it, right? You won't benefit at all, because the only time you get the shield is at Eureka 3. And well, yeah, all you need to know is that this does a buttload amounts of heal, right? And then we go straight into Poisonous Potion. The thing about Poisonous Potion is that most healers always tend to have a non-healing skill. right? Whether it be a buff, debuff, or even like raw damage. In Gio's case, she has this AoE like speed decrease. Talia has the accuracy decrease, right? And the good thing about Erika's form of damage is it is damage over time, meaning that she won't have to look at her crit multipliers, which would naturally be not as high as other DPS units, meaning we do get decent damage because end of the day, this is 555% times 5, 275 plus 110, 385. Yeah. So apart from that, we do get an attack and defense shred, which are locked again from the double Eureka buff. So Eureka 1 would give a attack decrease of 14% up to 20%, right? And then a Eureka 3 buff would give 20% defense shred. Again, this is all single target, sadly. So this would be on the unit to the backline. So do note that it is impossible to proc Eureka 3 effects without Eureka 1, just because you'll always have a Eureka 1 buff when you have a Eureka 3 effect, if that makes sense, right? So keep that in mind. Proccing this means you're also proccing the secondary effect, if that makes sense. Now, this is a good and a bad thing. A good thing is that it does pair well with other units, which we'll talk about in a bit. Actually, no, let's just say it right now. Such as Naya, right? Because usually the unit farthest away tends to be the DPS unit, and then Naya always wants to target that unit with the highest attack, right? So again, not all the time, but then a lot of the time, right? So actually, I even forget to notice this: 130%, 65% times 5. So that is 325% plus 130%. So 455. That's pretty good actually for one unit. And then you shred their defense by 20% if you have Eureka 3. Yeah, that's really good. I just noticed that now. Now, before I get into this one, which is probably her best sub skill, I'll be honest, is her ultimate. Now, I'm not sure if you guys actually seen this or not, but then this is again a full screen heal, right? So something similar to Catherine's, but then this is 320% at Eureka 3. This is only useful at Eureka 3, by the way. Don't even touch her ultimate, like, if it's not Eureka 3, because she does get a 30% buff to everyone's attack and invincibility for 5 seconds, right? So that's bonkers. But then, are you ever gonna use this? I mean, probably not, I'll be honest with you. So it's just nice to know that we do get a full screen invincibility, and that Catherine's not the only unit anymore with a full screen, with invincibility in general. But then that's not enough justifying a full ult bar to use on, right? So Giant Potion throws a huge healing potion to allies in crisis. So this restores the HP of the ally with the lowest HP by 160% of attack. Now, the problem with this is that this is single target, but then this is basically Gio's emergency heal, but this also gives double resistance, which is, I think, very, very valuable. Alright? Because double resistance is always one of the best stats to have on any unit, right? Except maybe a DPS unit, you don't really benefit. But anyways, at Eureka 3, this does so much heal that's crazy. So we'll just talk about it straight from no Eureka stacks, which is almost impossible, right? HP recovery is 200%. That's already really good. And then at Eureka 3, this does go all the way up to 300%. So 300% is always going to be a good thing. And a double resistance increase of 20% at Eureka 1. This is something that you hopefully want to at least get one Eureka stack on, just because this is more valuable than the extra heal, if that makes sense, right? Because if it is a tank and he is on the verge of death, for units such as Chloe, you'll be able to like heal it back up, just because Chloe has so much double resistance, as well as like say Claire and even Sunny, right? But why are you using Sunny in the first place, right? So now lastly, again, we'll just skim over the Eureka, see if we missed anything. Eureka 3 does not give any attack increase, but then it is 50% at level 161, meaning that this is the same chance as Naya's like sleep to proc, right? So nothing to worry about. This will happen so often because right off the bat, let me actually mention this. Her Giant Potion, basically her first 5 moves are N1, S3, which is Eureka, meaning because the thing is we go straight into Giant Potion right after, so we already have an emergency heal right off the bat, which is really good, especially at the start of most matches where your tank would probably die. And in cases where Chloe does taunt and then she's about to die, boom, giant potion to that girl, and then double resistance and everything. So really good. Now Chloe doesn't always, now at least Chloe won't always have to rely on Catherine for double resistance buffs. Erika could be a decent swap at times. Does that mean Erika will replace Catherine? I don't know, but you get the point, right? I will actually talk about her artifact, and this would tie into the recommended Keepsake bonus that I would recommend you guys, right? So Elixir of Life adds an effect to Eureka, which is again this one, which increases your speed by 6%. This goes all the way up to 24% with a mana increase. Again, we don't really care about mana increase, right? Now the thing is, we don't actually need to invest on it too much. You don't need Legendary Plus. As long as you have this, you're pretty much good to go. Or come on, have Mercy on your unit, at least get an Epic Plus, right? 9%. And this ties into what I would recommend on her, which is a Speed Keepsake, just because she already procs her Eureka buff so much that you'll be able to do it over and over and over again. Just get so many Eureka buffs, it's crazy. And I actually forget to mention, but then using a sub skill does not consume a Eureka stack, not even the Eureka 3 stack. So assuming, and again in a perfect world where you have like 200% speed buffs or something, you could over and over again just proc every skill with Eureka. So I don't know about you, but then that does sound a good thing to have. Now let's actually talk about the units that she's compatible with. We're not going to be talking about the teams. We'll just be mainly talking about tanks because that's important to mention. But before we get into that, sorry, it's a bit messy. I do want to get into the possible stats that she get. Now as a supporter over here, we do expect above average attack, average defense, pretty much above average HP, crit rate, crit damage, we do not care. Accuracy is mid, but then you don't miss heals, so that's not an issue, right? Now evasion is actually relatively high, but I think Talia is the one that's making it very high in value, and the rest are, well, normal, right? So just expect somewhere along those lines for the stats. Anyways, now let's get into the tanks that are actually going to be useful. Now Claire, there's actually pros and cons to this combination. Pros is she would tend to heal Claire very often, right? Because Claire's always in the enemy's cheeks. It would be good, as it would be like Claire has a dedicated healer pretty much. But at the same time, you may be leaving your team susceptible because all of her heals outside her ultimate are emergency heals, right? So basically Geo's main in terms of like what do you call it, like how to proc it. So yeah, this means that although Erika is a very strong healer, you may need to supplement her heals with another healer in a Claire comp to keep your other units alive, right? So probably Talia, then boom, you already have two fairy units, which are already one of the strongest factions in the game. Now Chloe, if I could find her. The thing with Chloe is she is #1 tank in Korea, alright? I'm just gonna say that she is the most used tank in Korea, and you know, may as well learn a thing or two from my Asian bravas, right? I'm Asian. Anyway, so probably the best tank with Erika, just because of how strong Chloe is. She's literally #1 tank in Korea, so you know, I'm not surprised, right? Does this mean that Erika is the best healer for Chloe? No, it just means that Chloe is the best tank for Erika, right? So it gets even better with Erika because Chloe tends to stay with your team, and now there's just going to be that one pocket, right? So I don't know why I tried drawing with my cursor, but yeah, I'm never gonna draw on my cursor ever again. This because of her main that heals a lot of units, and then Chloe is just gonna drag all these melee units towards her. I'm still trying to draw, but you get the point, right? Sorry, that was a bit scuffed, but I'm assuming you guys understand what I'm talking about. Let's just get into Petra so we actually have detail into this, right? Because this one is more interesting. So they'll actually go well and not at the same time, right? It depends. So I'll explain what you should probably do if you plan to use her in a Petra team. Good thing is she stays far back enough, right? She actually has more range than Geo. So I know this because we did see 1725 gameplay. It's pretty obvious. She stays far back enough to not bother Petra's passive for tanks, which is over here if you're not familiar. If she is a low alone in the 2.5 meters around her, she does get 80% defense boost, but if not, if there's some guy over there, she will get a attack increase of 40%. Right? Oh, and she'll also lose the status immunity, but then you won't be bothered with that one, right? So she causes an issue where, since you'd want Petra to be isolated, your other units would not be able to receive heals if Petra is taking a lot of damage, right? So yeah, that's pretty much the only issue with her. You probably don't want to pair them together. And now we'll be talking about Adrianne. So it's actually a weird interaction with Adrianne, where Adrianne will probably pull the DPS unit, but then Erika won't be able to target that same unit with Poisonous Potion later on in the round, because Adrianne uses her hook way earlier than Poisonous Potion. So this isn't a deal breaker, but it's just an interaction you may want to think about, right? Especially when you want to nuke the backline, and Erika helps with nuking it just a little bit more than she should, right? So again, Adrianne is not a main tank. She should be a secondary tank. We've already talked about this before, and it's been confirmed as people have been playing. It's just her kit is overloaded, but then not overloaded to be a straight tank, if that makes sense. But she is still very tanky. Like, she's a defender at the end of the day. Anyways, now we'll just finally sum it up with the pros and cons, which are very, very quick. When it comes to emergency heals, she pretty much rivals Geo and probably even Bear. Now again, the issue, oh wait, we'll talk about the issues in a bit. Her other pros are, she is a healer, meaning she won't need that much investment into her artifact, which we don't even have these stats for, sadly. And then we do get she does have an offensive attack here and defensive with the attack defense shred with a lot of damage on that poison, although it is single target. We don't really care about that too much, meaning and with the way her subskill rotation goes, she does very well with speed keepsakes. That's actually what I would recommend to you, just because she already has so much attack multiplier that you don't need any more attack multipliers under her, right? So, and she won't really benefit off anything else. So if you have speed keepsakes that are intelligence, is she intelligence? Yeah, probably give it to her, because there are not that many intelligence units. There are some, but then there are not that many that would benefit. Now, her Eureka buff is not a bad thing. That is 50%, because Eureka 1 buff is enough for the most part, right? We already see this because we do get a double resistance on her pass, on her sub 2, and Magnum Opus already has so much heal. The only thing you benefit from Eureka 3 for this one is a barrier, which is only useful in some cases, right? But then a lot of defensives on her, right? So that's the biggest pro. She is one of the best healers when it comes to keeping your units alive. So definitely better than, say, Clara, like right off the bat, right? Is she better than Talia? I wouldn't really say so, because they have their own uses, right? Anyway, so when it comes to, actually, I just realized this. She doesn't even have a full screen heal. Ah, okay, that is the biggest con. So yeah, in some cases, you know what, maybe Talia will out healer her, right? But then when it comes to keeping one unit alive, Erika will do better. So just keep that in mind. So again, the final cons are, she does not have a battery for a supporter unit, which is really sad, because even Catherine has one, and Talia obviously has one. I should forget to mention this, but then she is one of the best healers for a melee DPS team. She's probably the healer to go for in a pure melee DPS unit team, except for obviously Mika Siha teams, because you'd need Siha, not her, right? And in current content, she is very good in Battlefront. She's good in Fairy Gate, but then I'm not sure why you do want to rock 2 healers, but I guess you do have an option there, right? And you won't use her in Unlimited Gate, and for the most part, yeah, you won't really use her in Labyrinth, right? And then she's not a must-have, but a nice unit to have. Is she someone I would pull for? Probably not, just because I already have Talia Origin. But then if you're a collector, go and collect, man. It is a good thing to note though that she doesn't need that many dupes. Honestly, Epic Plus would probably be enough, but then that's also a con, because she won't really benefit off dupes too much. So if you have too much of her, you know, good and a bad thing, I guess, right? So yeah. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So if that video was useful to you, then please do consider subscribing so that we'll be able to make even better content like this one, right? So join the Discord because we are very active there and we stream a lot there. It's a lot of fun over there, guys. So it's been Uno Night, and I'll see you in the next one.